faced the purges of Mussolini. Toria came back with the goal of building a national organized crime syndicate. While the Mad Killers and punks like Doug Schultz, Blake Diamond, Al Capone made the headlines and provided good material for the gangster movies, Johnny Torrio quietly continued the work of Arnold Rothstein, who was assassinated in 1928, and began with the aid of the Rothstein two successors, Meyer Lansky and Lucky Luciano. Torrio could do what Lansky and the Bronfmans were prohibited from doing for reasons of ethnic discipline. What he could do is discipline the scores of local crime families, chieftains, and form a centralized business that could penetrate every sector of the economy. Okay, known as the assassin who never carries a gun, Torrio presented himself as the elder statesman of organized crime and commanded respect from the mafia locals. Cooperation is good for business was his slogan. The Big Seven has been Torrio's first step. The cooperative of the East Coast bootleggers controlled from the top down with local levels. All prices, membership, centralized distribution, and corruption and protection. So that was what he did. He organized the bootlegging operations for the entire East Coast, set up Al Capone in Chicago, on down here. So in 28, Torrio was able to call Cleveland meeting to establish the crime syndicate. The gathering was unique. They said 28 in this article. The other one shows it's 27. The gathering was unique in that it succeeded in bringing together into one room all the major crime bosses from the cities. There were 3 items on the agenda. First, how to use the profits, how to invest in a legitimate business, and that would permit steady increasing take for the syndicate. Second, how to deal with the Italian question. The ritual vendetta murders of the mafia were good for the newspapers, said Torrio, but bad for business. Immediately after meeting with the Cascamolero gang, wars broke out in New York, and as a test case for Torrio's syndicate under the auspices of Lansky and Torrio, Lucky Luciano succeeded in wiping out all the recalcitrant godfathers. During the last night of the war, the infamous night of Sicilian Vespers, over 40 people were gunned down.
Wow.
With then basically with cartelization came the need for more long-con regulation, gangland style. In the 30s, Murder Inc. was set up, formed as a regulatory commission of sorts over any zealous free enterprise advocates who might try to buck the syndicate. A special assassination bureau was set up by Meyer Lansky and Bugsy Siegel, the Bugs and Meyer gang, who had been distinguished by the fact that it owned allegiance to no one except Arnold Rothstein, and it had originally been used to protect the Bronfman liquor shipments across as freelance hijackers. I'm going to talk about this part for a minute. Remember the SS Normandy that was sunk in New York Harbor?
We heard that.
That was 2 blocks away from the headquarters of Torrio, okay? And that was reported that basically Meyer Lansky went to the Office of Naval Intelligence, ONI, and told them, actually it was the Office of Naval Intelligence investigated to find out who sunk the SS Lafayette, or the USS Lafayette is what it was going to be called, or the SS Normandy was the name the French called it. So Lucky Luciano, through Meyer Lansky, talked, and he found it's documented that he was running the docks of America, and they made an unholy alliance to work together to bring peace to the docks to help fight World War II. We saw articles, for instance, in General Patton, if you look at the World War II movies, of the Battle of Sicily, and they say, even General Patton says that we won Sicily with the help of others. The help of others was Meyer Lansky and Lucky Luciano, the same bastards who sunk a troop transport ship in the middle of a war. Okay, that's how much they really helped us.
Philanthropist.
Philanthropist. All right. So going back to this, taking it forward, since they made that unholy alliance with the Office of Naval Intelligence, okay, they also were working together at that point with the OSF. So let's focus on the Office of Naval Intelligence out of Brooklyn. Who was getting all the contracts with the Brooklyn Navy Yard? Meyer Lansky. Okay? So, right, so that's basically what happened is after World War II, they shut down the Brooklyn Navy Yard, and they moved all the facilities to where I am, in this area, not actually in the region where I am. And they renamed it the Naval Air Development Center, okay, of in Bucks County, Pennsylvania is where it was. I forget the name of the town. So they brought all those goons down there, and they were still continuing all the way up into the 90s, for that matter, winning all the contracts. You know, they were screwing anybody who was local that was trying to get the business. If you weren't tied in with that mafia, you weren't getting those Navy contracts. Okay, as a direct consequence of then corrupting it to the point, you know, all the way from what we're talking about here to right up to the current day and time. Okay, so that's the reason I'm bringing this up is I saw that firsthand. When I was seeing it, I didn't put the story together. It was over time that I saw it. All right, we're going to get back to this story here, talking about doping, and we're talking about the section in 1932. Toria was strong enough to pull together another meeting of the syndicate, this time in Atlantic City, where the National Commission of the Board of Directors of Organized Crime was officially formed. Aside from the leading Italian mafia to survive the transition, Meyer Lansky was now regarded as the financial and enforcement wizard of the syndicate. And Atlantic City's Zillman were in attendance as honored guests. Zillman was the mob boss around Atlantic City. We're almost done this. Okay. For the British, Prohibition was a roaring success. What had become a three-way contract between the Britain suppliers, the Bronfmans, the Cutout, and the Rothstein distributor had become, within the space of a decade, a nationally organized crime syndicate, a private secret army under the British banking and political control. To pick up the story, the modern-day Dope Inc. let us return to Cleveland and Johnny Torrio and his first meeting of the syndicate. The third item on the agenda was what to do after Prohibition. The commodity that would replace liquor in the black market was narcotics. Okay. And then they talked about how they got involved with smuggling in narcotics into this country and using the Chinese connection. So I'm not going to go over the details of that. Okay. Now here we go. I'm going to talk about the end of it, where they are in this article. Sitting on the board of the Bank of Montreal, along with Charles Bronfman and two of the Seagram's directors, are Bartlett Morgan, William Arbuckle, F.S. Birdbridge, who also sit on the boards of the Hudson Bay Company, Canadian Pacific, and a host of other companies in cooperation in which the drug families of Hong Kong were a nexus in the policy-making role. Sweethearts. Okay. Anything else here? All right, so they had Chinese connections going all the way back to the end of Prohibition, and that's when the drug smuggling came in here. One thing also, let's see, you may remember the French Connection, that movie where they talked about the big drug bust they had in New York City, and then after it was prosecuted, they found that someone basically inside the police force replaced all the heroin with flour or something like that, and it was sold out anyhow. They found that the real French Connection was discovered by Rudolph Giuliani and the current director of Department of Homeland Security, what's his name, the dual citizen, Chernikov. So the French Connection, in their investigation, they looked at the CIA records, and they found out that it was really Lucky Luciano out of Naples who was controlling that, one of the guys who was part of the Bronfman crime family from the beginning. So there were strong indications that it was all related to this.